Welcome back. For this next interview, I have the pleasure to introduce you to Mrs. Cecile Huet, who is the Head of Robotics of AI Innovation and Excellence at the European Commission. Good afternoon, and thank you for being with us today, Cecile.
Thanks very much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure for me to be here, especially for this project, because we started this project several years ago and with a lot of hopes in terms of see the project can help bringing the robotics technology to really the application field and understand what are the issue we meet when we bring robotics in production and in manufacturing environment. So it's great to see now the success after a few years of project funding.
4 years and a half, indeed. Thank you. So in the previous interview, we had the pleasure to meet with Mrs. Nikoska, who is the head of unit Digital Transformation of Industry. So there's a very thin line between digitalization and AI and maybe even robotics, because there are very close connections. So how do you work together? What's the difference between the two units? What's the separation?
Right. In our unit, basically we funded the unit in 2004, so a few years ago, where we really started the work on developing smart robots. So it was called at that time cognitive systems, and the goal was always to bring more intelligence into robots. So our focus until a few years back was mainly towards research and development in smart robots, and gradually now we're expanding, and we also support the more also to the market. But to be more specific, how we define our priority with the community. So we have an association called ADRA, AI, Data and Robotics. And if you're from this field, a stakeholder in this field, I would greatly encourage you to become a member of that association, because this is your way to influence the funding priorities we have in the Horizon Europe program. The Horizon Europe program is that supports research and innovation. So in which also more application-driven research. And it is in that context that DIH² was funded. We also another type of instrument, networks of excellence center. There will be one on robotics, and the goal is to bring the best researcher we have in Europe to join forces so that they can advance faster the field of robotics. We have several of them, other in more AI. We have another tool which is called the AI on Demand platform, which is expected to become really a central resource for all the developers and the researchers in the field, so that they can find all the resources they need there. And it's a tool also to be able to reuse results from previous projects, so that they can also not stay in the lab, but also evolve, be reused by other researchers or other applications. And another tool that we are funding, and this is one gap which existed in the past, because in the past we finished our intervention after research and development, but now we have activities also to bring the research result closer to the market. So we have what we call testing and experimentation facilities. These are very big projects to support the innovators in offering them an infrastructure where they can test the technology that has been developed and already tested in the lab and test in real environment. And there is one dedicated to manufacturing. And this is really the next step that brings the technology closer to the activity that my colleagues is supporting through Digital Innovation Hub, European Digital Innovation Hub, because they're really the last mile delivery, where they bring the result when they're mature enough, testing in a TEF, for instance, and they bring it to the real end user. So we're really complementary.
Okay, very interesting. So we cannot talk about AI without talking a little bit of generative AI. So maybe not too much to talk about it, because it's kind of a very new topic. But how are you working on these topics? What are you doing?
So we work on several fronts in the AI strategy in Europe. So what we want to do is to make sure that in Europe we have AI that can be trusted and that people want. So this is why we have a two-pronged approach, one which is on the regulatory side to make sure that we have a rail guard to make sure that the technology is safe, respect or value. In parallel, we have the funding program which supports the development of the technology. So we work hand in hand, and also the technology development is there to support the regulatory framework, which imposes, for instance, on risky applications such as in healthcare or in when it affects directly the people's life, to have, for instance, requirements in terms of robustness. And this brings also a dimension of making sure the system are robust enough. Privacy is also something, when talking about generative AI, you saw which risk it could bring in terms of privacy, quality of the data, and things like that. So this is something we are discussing, and we are, so you saw the AI Act, which is now has been adopted by the Parliament and is going to start the trilogue. But you saw that they're also very cautious about generative AI, so they will pay attention to that. And in terms of research and development, this is something which is really on our radar. We discuss with the community to see how we can support that. And there is also an initiative among the member states to support a large language model and the development of large AI model. And it's really a joint effort, bringing different member states together to see how they can support this initiative and make sure of generative AI made in Europe, to really make sure they respect our value, they serve our industry, our citizen, and also be very careful about what is done with the data, which are very precious for the citizen, but also for the enterprises. So that's
Sure.
what we have in mind.
So when we come back to AI and robotics, today we're talking about sustainable manufacturing. So how can AI and robotics contribute to a more sustainable manufacturing?
Yeah, there are many aspects where they can help. So robotics can a very easy application, demanufacturing, remanufacturing, basically recycling and the circular economy. So robotics can help a lot in that. When you talk also about AI, AI is about optimization. So optimization means also making sure that we minimize waste. So in essence, AI is a technology which is there to also in making sure we make the best use of the resources. And also in terms of sustainability in a different way, thanks to robotics and AI, smart robot, collaborative robot, we might also be able to be more efficient in production as a whole, and also reshore some critical manufacturing production in Europe, and it makes them then closer to the user and therefore more sustainable economically, but also in an environmental way, and also critical to regarding dependency with respect to other continents.
Yeah, and actually in DIH², we worked a lot on small businesses, and we will have in a moment some testimony of small businesses. And I wanted to know, is it still in the strategy of the Commission to continue to support SMEs into the adoption of robotics and artificial intelligence, maybe with more sustainability?
Right. So we have different ways of supporting the SMEs. So we have some calls which encourage and are more targeted towards SMEs. But here again, I would advertise ADRA, and we need to hear from the community which are the specific needs in terms of types of support that needs to be brought, either to research development, but targeted also to some particular players such as startup or SME. So that's an important input. But in addition, there are the other tools which are not necessarily always financed, financial instrument, but the TEF, for instance, they bring a lot of support to help the SME to bring their product faster to the market, because they need to have this access to the end user so that they can test, they can see the limit of the technology, they can, and once tested there, then they can say, okay, my product has been tested against this protocols, and then you can trust them. They can meet the requirement of the users. In addition to that, there are a number of funding in the EIC, so which are really calls targeted for individual startup or SMEs, and there are different stages of their evolution with different also level of financing, even going to financial instruments. So there are different type of activities that can support the SME. And also keep in mind the continuation through European Digital Innovation Hub you have mentioned in the previous interview, because they are there also to help the SMEs, the startup, being the developer of the technology or the adopters of the technology, to help them, to coach them, to test with them in terms of technology, business coaching, and so on. Again, another type of support to startups and SMEs.
Thank you very much. We have reached the total time that was allocated to this interview. So thank you very much for your participation to the DIH² Factor.